Welcome to the World Builders Library. Come on in. The reading room is full of comfortable chairs, and if you accidentally nod off for a nap, no one will mind. You're safe here. I'm Lewis Nichols, and we've been talking about the development of a new settlement. Our subject, the town of Armitage, built around an electrum mine. That's the city's lifeblood, but we're just starting to detect the stirrings of change and growth. The root of world building any civilized space is figuring out why it's there. What is the reason for its birth? Often, that's going to be some resource or combination of resources. It could be an outpost on a trade route or an oasis. It could be a protected port. In fantasy, it could be some magical outlet of power that draws people to the location. We are drawn to the mundane here at the library. At Armitage, it's all about the mine. That's one reason the Ponderosa Posse decided to invest in the effort. Let's resolve last year's decisions before we get into anything new. Bring on the chart. Trade, infrastructure, the mine, and amenities were all the subject of investments. In theory, they should all go up, but it's starting to feel like we're due that natural one. Well, that was some junky rolls, but that's the story of my life. However, wins are wins, and those rolls got us there. For the mine, well, let's remember, we're developing the details of this system as we go. In retrospect, I think a base of 1d6 minus 1d4 per the score level should have been our baseline, and it's going to be from here on out. In other words, when we were at a mining development level of 2, it should have been 2d6 minus 2d4 times 1,000. Now that we're at level 3, it becomes 3d6 minus 3d4 times 1,000. Potential gains go up, but so does the maintenance and payroll. Now that we're thinking about it, let's take this a little further. I believe that the dice used would be a good representation of the thing being mined. A D4 would be for something like copper or salt. A D6, our electrum, or maybe some iron. A D8 would be for silver. A D10 sounds good for gold, saving the D12s for the fancy stuff, maybe a little mithril or adamantium. You might also rule that expenses go up either inside or outside of this formula. Let's face it, if you've got a gold mine pumping out 4d10 minus 4d4 times 1,000 in ore, your security score is a 2, and that's going to attract some bandits. As for the rest of our scores in focus, they're still all 2s and 3s. Now, last time I threatened the party that their low trade score could lead to some problems. So this time around, I'm going to roll a dice. Just kind of a 50-50 luck check, see what happens. 19. Even if I blast them with a -4 penalty, it's going to be plenty good to move all of their product. In fact, I'm going to give them a choice to buy some extra provisions and supplies, if they want. And just for your information, that -4 isn't a number I just made up. It is based on the penalty for having an ability score of 3. For amenities, I'm going to make another roll. This is going to kind of determine if the people already in town are thinking about leaving for lack of entertainment. Holy cow, that's a natural 20. The party is told by several of the townsfolk, this is rough country out here, but we're sticking with it. Our future is golden. Ha! Shiny as polished electrum it is. Rolls in most other categories don't really matter much. For security, I get a 9. Which means I'm not feeling any pressure to figure out the threats to the town. With penalties applied, it probably does mean that there are forces out there starting to think about making Armitage a target. Alright, the party had plans if you recall. Let's resolve those next. They were looking for new settlers, new businesses, and experts in industry and infrastructure. This was handled in-game through role-playing encounters with the bard at the forefront of negotiations. They generated a little bit of money during the year and spent 300 gold pieces of it on a PR campaign split between non-specific settlers and business owners. I'm going to make 2 separate rolls. A 17. Oh, and there's that 1. General sentiment for business owners. There's just not enough reason to think that we'll be more successful out there than we are right here. However, there are apparently a lot of unskilled laborers ready to get out of the city. The population of Armitage is going to grow from 110 to 145. And if you don't think an increase of 35 sounds like a lot, that's almost a 50% increase in 1 year. And mind you, the party isn't taking too many people who might just turn out to be mouths to be fed. Alright, experts is next. Some investigation rolls, some role playing. The bard warms up those persuasion dice. An 11 and a 19. I'm going to say that means they only had one quality expert apply at the industrialist's position. We have a formula for this. 8 plus 2d6. That makes for a skill level of 14. That's good. That's excellent. In their hunt for a civil engineer, aka Infrastructuralist, we came up with a raw 19. I'm going to say they get their choice of 3. After some rolls, the skill levels are 18, 15, and 13. Just for fun, we're going to add a baggage roll to each of these guys. 14 for the businessman, so no real problems there. For the new people, for the infrastructuralists, we're going to roll 19, 18, and a 12. So the way the numbers come out, I'm going to rule that the guy with the 15 skill level, who rolled an 18 on the dice for baggage, is prepared to bring out a fairly large family with a number of useful members. So he's bringing more to the table than just his skill level. Now that 18, he is highly qualified, but the vibe's not ideal. Maybe it's a low charisma score. You can build some stuff into it if you're going to develop this guy as a character. He's just not a good feel, although he is well skilled. Now, tell me in the comments, which one of these guys are you going to choose? The party vote is split, so I'm going to roll a dice for it. The 18 wins. Low charisma, high skill takes the day. Maybe it'll make a difference someday. Maybe it won't. Obviously, there are a million ways to figure this all out in gameplay. One of my favorite diplomatic mission methods is to set up a list of pitfalls and bonuses to an eventual roll to impress. The party can question the friends, family, co-workers, and casual acquaintances of the subject. Maybe the guy is a dog lover, opening for an angle of endearment. Maybe they hate undead, and the presence of a reborn in the group totally freaks them out. Or maybe they love, or maybe they hate, talking about sports. What if your investigation turns up a secret lover? Blackmail anyone? Tangents anyone? Where were we? Oh yeah, wrapping up our opening sections here. There is something we skipped, one last piece about resolving last year. The formula. On a 3d6, we have a 12. That's not bad. Oh, yikes. 3d4 for a 10. Well, that's still a profit of 2,000 gold, plus those 3,000 from savings. For next year, they are definitely assigning their expert in infrastructure so they can take better advantage of these experts. Now, I have said that this number determines how many can be applied, but what are the numbers? Phyllis and the rest of the posse want to know. Minimum is obviously 1, but where does it go up? Alright, let's think about this. If we say that the base is 5, then Armitage is going to have a -4 for their low score. So that lines out to what we've been doing. Now, it also means that at a skill level of 4, it's going to go up to 2 experts. Now, that also means that assuming we can get to a 20 score, we're going to cap out at 10. Right off the bat, 10 experts, that seems like a lot. I mean, we only have 10 categories. But if you think about it, any decent municipal structure, any city, any big town, any governmental space, any governmental organization, they should be hiring an expert for every one of their endeavors. So That really does, I guess, make sense. And face it, getting to a 20 is a ton of time and effort. Probably never going to get to it in a campaign time. Probably not going to get to it in our thought experiment. There are other things to increase, and you're going to start missing rolls at some point. Things are going to stagnate. All right, let's lock that in for now. Let's do it. With this revelation of the rules, the posse is going in hard. Not only are they assigning an expert, they are putting 1,000 gold into the process. That means 2 rolls next year, both with the expert's bonus. We'll detail it out a bit, saying that the effort is going into housing, improvements on Main Street, and the construction of a meeting hall. Another 1,000 is going into industry as part of the party's hope to start making some money through business taxes of some sort. I had hoped to talk about this a little bit more in this episode, but the bard botched his roll, and well, then I ran out of time, so it seems like a good subject to talk about next episode. On the other hand, we could talk about something else. I would like to push out character videos for the other members, so we're already talking about a month's worth of content. Still, your opinions matter immensely. Tell me what you want to hear as the subject for our next video. I want to thank you all for joining me today. You are all important to this world, and I'm glad that you're in it. I love you all. Cheers.